right, welcome back everybody to another new episode of A Whole New World, where we're here to put a spotlight on positive things happening in the community and developing that positive mindset. So, as always, I am your beautiful host, Jacob. Yes, I said beautiful. I accept beauty in all forms. Hey, man. But we always start off our shows with a dad joke, and today's dad joke is... So I went to the paint store the other day to get thinner. It didn't work. I gained a couple pounds. Get it? Because paint thinner, but I got weight. Yeah. Play on words there. Yeah. We are very fortunate to have with us today Debrah Cole from Light the Path podcast and Malvin Hearns from Power Level podcast. Yes, I was going to say Level Up. I was like, let's do it.
I'm sure there's one.
Thank you guys for being a guest on the show today. So,
thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for definitely having us today.
No, I appreciate it. And so, for today, we were going to talk where our theme for the next couple of weeks is relationships. So my wife and I, we did the last episode, we talked about just kind of general, what are some things that relationships might need to have. And this week, I thought be a good one to talk about would be repairing relationships, because I think we can all agree out there that, hey, I've been hurt, you've been hurt, we all get hurt by other people, and it's important to learn how to repair those. So if somebody has hurt you in a relationship, I keep looking over here because that's what the screen, but hey, you guys right there. If you get hurt in a relationship, is it easy for you or hard to repair that relationship with that person? What?
I know sometimes, I guess with me, sometimes it depends on what happened and who it was, in a sense. Like if it was maybe an acquaintance, I can easily, maybe let it go and not necessarily, forgive them but not necessarily forget, but now if it was someone maybe really close to me, or someone like a loved one or a family member, it might be even harder because I wouldn't maybe expect to get into that circumstance with. So it's kind of tough for me, I can't lie. That end.
For me, I think it's hard for me because I'm a resolution-based person. So I like things, even if we disagree to agree, I'm all for that. But if it's something where it's actually something that could be considered unforgivable, something with my children, if you've done something to my kids, Mama Bear is going to be...
She can't come out.
It's gonna be very a slow process to build that relationship back up with my family. Obviously, if you come from my family, my mom, my brothers, then so it's gonna be hard. It's hard for me because I do, like I was saying, I like resolution. I like things to come to a head. So I may put it on reserve, and if I don't see that person or interact with that person, I'm cool. But if I see them, it triggers for me. It's like, boom, you remember they did this, boom, and it just like a domino effect, and then it's like I'm all back mad again. So it's not that I haven't forgave them, it's just that if I haven't seen them, it's probably not at the top of my mind. I sort of just pushed it to the side. But I like to come to resolution with people. If we have a disagreement, like, hey, let's figure this out. But if you just totally messed up and then you don't say, well, what kind of mind state you were in, or if you try to explain yourself, then I'm gonna still be mad.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, and I really appreciate both of you being so honest and candid with us, just because it's difficult to forgive and repair those relationships. I know I'm a lot like, well, I think all of us can agree that it depends on the level of which the relationship's broken. That because like sometimes it's like 10 minutes later, all right, I'm over it, but then there are other things that are a little bit deeper, and it depends on if they're like a loved one and they really hurt you. I mean, I think the closer they are to you, and when they break it or whatever it is they do, that's when it cuts deeper, So is everything forgivable though? Do y'all think?
I'm just gonna say no. Everything is not forgivable. Um, I can be like I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm either two things. I'm either gonna fight or flight. So that's why it's hard for me to. When I saw this subject, I was thinking about a lot of different things, but because I am fight or flight, like if it's something that needs to be forgiven, if I really care about the person, I'm gonna fight for it. But if I
Hmm.
don't really, I'm just gonna be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Just I'm gonna be poof. You never gonna see me. You never gonna hear me again, and I'm not even gonna worry about it. So those are my two two dilemmas with forgiveness, and some things are not forgivable. I can't again.
And that's a tough
Yeah.
one again too, because we've seen so many different things that have happened um, throughout just this year, last year that um, like Deborah said, just for instance, like something happened to somebody's family. I mean, the whole thing with the Amber Geiger and Batman Jean case, where the family says, we forgive the brother, he stands up and forgive. So it's kind of like, in a sense, everything can be forgivable, but it's again all about the person. To me, in my opinion, now I don't think everything is forgivable. I do think that um, certain things you just can't let it go, and maybe you might be able to move on in a sense. You might be able to forgive, but it's going to be really hard to forget it and just kind of let it go, because sometimes forgiveness, I've heard this too a lot. People will say forgiveness is overrated. I don't know if a lot of people have heard that, and
I
and
have,
it's kind of
have not.
it's kind of a bitter take. It's kind of a bitter take, but it's a take pretty much saying it, because sometimes people forgive so much they almost let themselves get ran over. Um, but I do feel
Hmm.
like it is a peacefulness from forgiving though. Like I have, been done wrong in situations where I have again not forgotten what they've done,
Yeah.
but I have letting it go, and that's kind of bringing up to what Queen Cole was saying, to where when she might see that person, whenever it might trigger, they might get triggered, but when I see that person, if I'm not triggered, even though I know what they've done and it's the back of my head, I'm not triggered. That means in my mind that I kind of forgave them, because if I'm still triggered, then I know I didn't have true forgiveness,
Yeah.
in my heart. It's one thing you want, but again, it's really tough. It really is a tough take on it.
And it's funny that you said this. You said that I thought you were going to say that people say forgiveness is for you. I thought that's the quote that you're going to say, because I've heard that. And that is absolutely true. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over different things. I mean, it's all about picking your battles. But I'm glad that you brought this case up too, because I still, when you even brought the case up, I'm still that cousin third removed that's like, no, 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 don't hug her. Like, hold up. So I, it takes time for me, because what I prefer is change behavior. We say
Hmm.
things out of our mouth because, we got caught with something or we did something. So then it's all, forgive me, I'm sorry. But during that time, were you thinking of me uh, when you were doing something that was going to affect me? So if you weren't thinking of me at that time, now all of a sudden now you want my forgiveness. I don't. It's hard for me to accept the words. I need change behavior. That's it for me.
No, I agree 100%. I for me, like, I really don't just tell me you're sorry, but you need to do something to change it. And I think for me that kind of helps with the forgiveness process. Um, because if I see you're making an effort to be like, yo, I'm sorry, let me try and correct it, then it's easier for me to forgive. But I've been thinking, and especially with recent events, like, would I be able to forgive somebody if they killed a family member of mine? Like that, I would love to say yes, but I don't think I could, at least like not right away. But like you said, I mean, forgiveness is for you, I think, and that's and it doesn't always happen like right off the bat. Like, I forgive you, boom, I'm done. I'm cold. So,
Mhm.
or not cold. I'm I'm good right now, you know. But I think it's just something that some things like just take a lot longer to forgive and come to terms with, and just because I look at forgiveness as I'm letting this go so that I can be clear, you know. So I guess from that aspect, for me, I would say everything is forgivable, but I do want to say, Malvin, you brought up a great point. Just because I forgive, though, that doesn't mean I should let people walk all over me. Like I don't forget, you know. Well, Trish is probably at home, like, yeah, he does, but you know,
You should.
yeah. But I mean, like, if you're doing me dirty like multiple times, I mean, I'm sorry about you, but I'm gonna have to cut ties or something. Like, I'm sorry, I don't. So, but I don't. I used to view forgiveness as like a sign of weakness, but I've come to realize that it's more of, for me, a way to let go and be at peace with myself. Um, what kinds of things would people have to do to maybe earn that trust back then? Because I like that whole idea of you have to change. You know, like, something has to change. You have to do something. You can't just say the words. Something has to change. Like, what would anything in particular comes to mind, or?
I'm for sure probably number one is actually stating why you need forgiveness. You know, stating what you exactly did wrong, and how you knew it affected, you know, the other person. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge thing, instead of just trying to just blow it over. Do you forgive me? Just, I'm sorry. You know, like, oh, I'm sorry because I did this. It made you feel this way, or it did this to you, and, you know, and then I guess from there is, like you said, taking actual time, um, and different steps to show that, hey, you know what, I this person really didn't mean to do this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for me, it's almost the same thing. With what you're saying, Malvin. But then also, I need you to see the error of your ways. I need you to be like, you know what? Before you even come to me, start laying the groundwork. Like, I don't know, just for instance, if somebody did something to me at work, okay, when I come to work the next day, you already, hey, I know yesterday I jumped in front of you in front of the copier and you didn't like that. I threw your thing in the trash, but hey, I already know at this time I'm going to be going, just sort of make those preparations that you are working on yourself and the things that the error of your ways. You're not just like, yeah, I'm sorry because, I didn't bit your head off, but come to me with the groundwork already in motion. And if I see that you're doing other people like that, if I see you're at the copier, Melvin's at the, at the copier, and you like pushing and I'm like, okay, you haven't learned. You still, I'm using just
it,
something
it
simple,
doesn't
but
just apply to you. You know, like, it's.
yeah. So if I see that you're, treating other people better than you have in the past with different scenarios, then I would be more open to accepting your apology, because that's the first thing someone wants to do if they uh, do something wrong to you and they feel that it has offended you. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad, or anything like that. But what are you sorry for, and how are you going to correct your behavior for the next time?
And then also
Mhm.
to add to that, you know, like, again, the sorry doesn't erase everything. So a lot of times I do see where, and it to me is kind of like almost a test. Sometimes I kind of test the person who did wrong, in a sense, with their forgiveness. When this happens, they're doing the groundwork, and they already said sorry, and time is going by, and they're like, well, so you forgive me? Are we good now? And so you're, saying, in a sense, you think, since you're doing all those things, it's supposed to just magically be
Instantly,
be
yeah.
gone. But that's why I say I kind of test your character, because
Mhm.
are you really just saying that just to be, for it to be done? You think it's just that simple? It just can be all done? And a lot of people do that. Oh, do this, do that, do that. We supposed to be fine now. Well, you can't you can't jump into my shoes and say, when is my time to forgive? You have to let me get time to forgive too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're doing all those groundwork, you're doing all the perfect things too, but allow me to still mend that trust and mend those relationships and take time with that.
I mean, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
key word, trust. Trust takes a lot of time to build up, but it can be taken
Lost.
away instantly. So it's like you got to be very careful with that. And if I feel somebody is not handling me or my situation or my feelings with care and consideration, then you're already acting reckless. So
Yeah.
definitely, you got to be able to let that trust build back up. It takes time.
Uh, I like that. I really like that you both brought up about time because it doesn't happen in an instant like that, like you guys are saying. And so, and for some people, it's a lot harder to build that trust back up. And it depends, I think, also, like how many times have you done this to the person before? So, I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. But I think as somebody who is seeking to rectify a mistake or a wrong that they've done, being respectful of that person and giving them time, maybe they're not ready yet, and you just gotta keep working on you and being a better person and trying to make sure that whatever you did doesn't happen again. Um, so this kind of popped into my head while you guys were thinking, like, is it ever too late to apologize or be forgiven? Do you guys think?
Hmm. I feel like it's just like a wound. If you get a paper cut, paper cuts hurt, and we've
Mm-hmm.
been sanitizing here lately. You can have a paper cut and you don't even know it. You put that sanitizer on,
Oh.
which is this person's late apology, and it's like, hey, whoa, and it's very small, so you can't see it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It's hard when it takes time. To me, it's like removing the scab. I mean, it's already starting to
Mm-hmm.
heal up. You haven't done the work to try to rebuild, but then why? I would really need to know why all of a sudden you are coming to me after all this time. Like, what took so long? Why did it take you so long to come to the realization that you hurt me in a way? So I would be very leery of a person who takes an ample
Mm-hmm.
amount of time to ask for forgiveness.
And I kind of feel like to me, I honestly feel like it's never too late. Like, yes, I maybe could have, forgave you before, but again, it's just almost like it's hard to, you really have to use empathy for the other person too, even if they were wrong in the situation. Sometimes they have other different things behind them that kind of maybe might have hindered them to step up to face that, their selves and say that I was wrong. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
sometimes don't do that, but I feel like it's always better than never. Even if things can't be truly how it was, and I'll use an example as far as like a parent being out of a child's life. I feel like in that certain instance, a child would want that parent maybe between heck 8 years old or and 16,
Adolescent.
18, but then after a while they might say, well, shoot, I don't really need them anymore. But they already kind of have the effects of not having that parent in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty much kind of affecting them in their other relationships. And so now this parent is kind of coming back. He wants to mend things, but they can't maybe teach you how to be a responsible adult. But maybe it might be able to help out. Just maybe just might be able to help out in relationships, and who knows, maybe it might be able to help out your perspective when you're a parent. So I think it's like, yes, it's maybe might be too late for it to be picture perfect, but it's really never too late, because at the end of the day, you don't want to go down and be on your deathbed and be wondering, oh man, I can't, I should have did this, I should have did that. I feel like it's always good to just to get it out there, and even if that person don't take it, you know, at least you
Mm-hmm.
at least you got it out there.
Yeah, you made the effort, and I'm kind of more along those same lines where I don't think it's ever too late. Like if you did something to me in high school and we just haven't seen each other, and all of a sudden I just get this message like, "Hey, yo, I'm really sorry for that," and uh, I'd be like, "Cool, man. Thanks for apologizing," but I can't help it. I thought of, have you guys seen the movie Billy Madison with Adam Sandler?
A long time, but I haven't. When he's playing golf, right?
That is Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
Billy Madison, he goes back to school,
Oh,
and so he realizes like what he's done wrong and like how he is treating people. So he decided he was going to start calling people, and one of the kids, he was like a really big bully too. He like calls the guy. He's like, huh? He's living at home with his parents, but like really like distraught by what happened to him in high school. And he crosses his name off a list. Like, I don't need to do anything to you anymore. You know, like it was like so. If you've seen Billy Madison, it makes more sense. So I recommend you watch Billy Madison after this. You know, it's
pretty much a hit list.
yeah. It was his hit list, and then it ended up paying out for him. You know, not saying that's going to happen for everybody, but in a silly way, kind of help paint a picture that I don't think it's ever too late to apologize. And so, but what before the show, I shared with you guys a link about restorative practices and restorative circles. For the listeners out there, this is a form of correcting wrongs done to people, and so what it involves is the victim and the perpetrator, and often another party. It could be the family, a group of the community, and then it has like a mediator. And so what they do is they ask open-ended questions, and the victim gets to speak, the perpetrator gets to speak, and it kind of helps them come up to a one conclusion. And so like they come up with, this is what I'm going to do to fix it, and are you okay with that? And they could say no, and then they have to go back and they have to talk about it. But it's a way to develop empathy between each other. And I believe it was started in New Zealand, and it helped a lot in reducing the number of repeat offenders for adolescents going to jail. So y'all read up on that, and what do you guys think about those circles, restorative practices?
I like it. I think, especially in families and in communities, that would be very beneficial. Even in the school system, I think that'll be better than sending the children to juvenile detention or to teen truancy courts and things like that to sort of divert the whole school to prison pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good idea to use if everybody is receptive. And I think sometimes when you're the victim of something, it's hard to see it from the offender's side. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good way for the offender also to get their voice out there and say, hey, like, this is how I felt. This is a situation that I was in. I thought the questions were very good for both sides. So I like the idea of it.
My question, really quick too. I'm not sure if any of y'all knew, like, what were some of the things that those adolescents were doing in New Zealand
That's that I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be like crime, like thievery. I guess it'd be theft in most worlds, but like murder, just like kind of like those possession, just different. That was my understanding, is similar crimes to that.
But yeah, I mean, I believe if, like Queen said, if everybody has the right mindset in it, then yeah, I believe
Mm-hmm.
it can work. You know, sometimes I think it can be tough depending on what it is. That's why I kind of ask, because sometimes depending on what it is, it can be hard even getting those two in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've dealt with people that had certain issues and kind of been in the same room with them, and sometimes it's tough. Sometimes even when we kind of get to a resolution, then the other person wants to just still kind of come back. It still wants to. It's tough when it's two people, even with a mediator, two people, but still one person wants to be ultimately right instead of everybody being right in a situation and making the whole thing resolve. So it takes a really strong mediator, but that can really emphasize with both sides, and but I believe it can
takes their
work.
mindset too. If the victim doesn't have a mindset to, one, like we talked about earlier, have forgiveness or trust that this person is just, putting on a show for the mediator to be able to get out. So those are the things that you sort of sit with in different situations like that. I mean, if it was a crime against your family or something, you would think, like, are they going to get out? Are they just putting on a good show so that they can get out? But I think it's a good start. I think maybe for the lower crimes, maybe shoplifting, skipping school, those kind of things, instead of taking them to, the juvenile detention centers, etc. That way. And I think that also, I didn't read and see if there was any kind of like action plan after the fact. Like once they get out, I need to have a little bit more. Like I need you to still sort of be monitored. I need you to still be working on yourself, so that way you don't reoffend. So those are, I think it's a good start for bridging the gap with communication.
Yeah, and I do want to say that with the after the meeting, they're supposed to have like check-ins and a way to keep them accountable, because otherwise, like y'all brought up, they just be like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever, and then like they just go off and do their own thing. But they're and I think this is actually probably one of the toughest parts, and where a lot of it falls through in school systems, is the accountability and making sure that you hold them accountable. Have you do those check-ins? Have you guys been doing this? Okay, well, this isn't working, so we need to come back and we need to rehash this out or whatever, and we're going to keep doing this until you fix it. And I've been in schools where this has worked great. Kids get it real quick. Other schools where we didn't have that and it didn't work out as well. But and I do agree, you do need a strong mediator for certain instances. So, but I really like this idea of each side hears what the other person has to say, and it develops that empathy, because in my way of thinking, things don't change until you start to get to know that person. Like if I know and I understand, wow, you're another person with human feelings and stuff too, I am less likely to hurt you, because I'm like, I know what it's like to be hurt, And so that's kind of what I really like about this, the restorative practices, and using that to help rebuild relationships, because it's like, oh wow, like I really did hurt you, or man, I didn't realize I made you feel that way by saying this or doing this, by skipping school. This was causing this to happen, or whatever it might be. I think it's important to have that dialogue. And Malvin, you brought up that they don't want to see each other, but I think that's all the more reason why they need to be in that same room together. Maybe give them time, but I definitely think if you're that strongly against being in the same room with somebody, you need to be in that room with that person. So, what other thoughts do you guys have about this?
I mean, even with that being said too, that's exactly right. But in order for that to happen too, it has to be a mindset change, which is even harder. I mean, that's the same thing with like us, and I say like us, for instance, just people in general. Like we know we might need to do the harder decision, but it's easier said than done. Like, yeah, we need to maybe go run those 5 miles, but or do this or be disciplined and read this, read that. But it's easier said than done. Like we have to literally have that our mind, and Queen said, our mindset in the right place. So if your mindset is you only want to think, I need to be right. I don't even know why I'm getting in a room with this person. This person was wrong. They wronged me.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're even having a conversation? Because I didn't do anything. They did all the things. Then it's never going to get there, you know. And instead of saying, okay, hey, well, let's go and let's really talk out and see what this other side said. It takes a lot of maturity for real.
And I think that could be the pre-work too, where both sides are told, because maybe even the offender may not even see where they were wrong. So
exactly.
Timing is essential. So I think pre-work and then timing, make sure that those sort of align with each other, and I think it could still give some good results.
I like it. Like I said, like I've seen it work and I've seen it not work. So it all depends on the follow through.
Why didn't it work in some instances?
The instances that I ran into, moreover, was lack of follow through. And so, yeah, I say I'm going to do this, but nobody checked in. And sometimes I was guilty of that myself, because I mean I get lost, and so like I've learned to I'm not lost in the school, but like you're dealing with 24 other kids, it's hard to keep track of things sometimes. So but I've learned that I need to set like a reminder in my calendar or something, like, hey, because yes, the academic portion is important, but we also need to spend time to give kids important like skills to deal with issues. And when they don't see us talking, they don't see adults talking, they're not taught how to talk and handle problems. That's when I think things get worse. I mean, they grow up, they don't have the tools, and that's not their fault. I mean, we're responsible for raising them. So, not just teachers, everybody. I won't throw that out there, but but that's from my experience, the biggest reason why they've failed. It's because of lack of the follow through and accountability. So, and it kind of makes me think, though, like, what with everything going on with race relationships right now, do you think that this might have a place in there, or what needs to happen to fix? Look at my hands. So that we can start bridging that gap, and because there's clearly a gap, and what needs to happen, do you guys think?
That's a big one.
It is
so much that needs to happen. I mean, but I do think that can help. I do think that can help the understanding of the situation. And I've seen, people going on and on, and I mean, I'll just use social media for example, and pretty much, ask questions about what's going on, or make certain statements about what is going on, and pretty much get into a conversation where they're arguing amongst themselves. And and I came in statements like, why not talk to the other people around this movement instead of just trying to assume this is what it is. I mean, for example, I think one of the things I came into was pretty much, that Black Lives Matters is only, it just means violence, oh, it just means violence. I was like, no, like that's not the whole point of the movie. I mean, even the whole point of people saying all lives matters, they think Black Lives Matters just means we just only talking about Black lives. Like, I think they're not seeing the whole entire point and picture. So I think it is kind of imperative for the people that are willing to actually have an open mind and say, okay, let me use empathy and understand this from y'all's situation. I mean, some people trying to explain, if you never really understood something, I understand it's going to be hard for you to try to get it. I've seen a lot of signs where people say, I'm sorry, I'm late to the party. I had a lot to learn. And that's dope that you really actually took time to say, you know what, this really hasn't been my world, but let me go and see why are these people saying this? Because you might have not known about all the different history, and that's what I told this person too. I said, you know, you probably, maybe you only knew about what the history books in school maybe just taught to you about just slavery, and that's the only thing that you really just knew, just slavery, and you might have not even known to extent of the different things that happened right after slavery, the Civil War, all those different things. You might have just only judged strictly off of that and just thought, well, once slavery is done, and everybody had an equal playing field, and instead of actually looking at everything that really went on, and it's a lot of other people haven't really seen that and understood that. So, yeah, I think that I think that would help a ton. I mean, just to get them to really understand. And again, it will help if everybody making sure that they're using empathy and saying not is not trying to be who's right or who's wrong. It's trying, like, let's intelligently look at everything that's going on, and then now step yourself in our shoes, and if this is happening to your people. Because one of the things is too, and I'm gonna let Queen speak in just a second too, but one of the things is too that also this person said was like, black and whites, they've been going at it since the beginning of time, and it's like, this hasn't been an equal tick for tack thing. I mean, it's so many different things that have happened, to us as a people. We're not going to sit here and act like it's been a tick for tack. It's not. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not too many instances you hear about, uh, you know, a black person maybe doing this, doing that, even going past with slavery, even going past the things that they did with our children, the things that they did with our babies. There's so much things that they did with our mothers, our men, making us fight each other, mandigos. There's a lot of stuff that happened. It definitely hasn't been tick for tack, but that's
Mhm.
why I told that person, I say, you need to not only look at the statistics, whatever, and sometimes some of the statistics can be misleading. That's a whole nother thing. But you need to also go back, look at the history books, look at Emmett Till, look at Black Wall Street, look at um, the Civil War happening where they wanted to keep slavery, but they had black people
Mhm.
fight for the Civil War. And I just found out something else even too, as far as some more things that they made um, after the uh, the 13th Amendment, where they made other different rules, where they pretty much how they incorporated the prison systems in order to just arrest black people, even if they were just preaching the gospel
Mhm.
without a certain license. They got arrested for every single thing, and pretty much used the prison system in order to fund those people that were upset that they had to lose slaves, which is a whole nother thing. So it's so much that needs to be learned first, and I think learned, and then not only learned, but you have to have that empathy, because I feel like it's some people also do know every single thing, but they're like, well, it's done with,
Mhm.
but that's my
Yeah.
take.
Yeah, as far as me, I mean, because I have two things going against me. I'm a woman, one, and then I'm a black woman. So what I've been trying to do is do three different things. One, take care of my self care, my mental health, wellness, because a lot of this is very overwhelming.
Mhm.
We were before. I mean, this has been racial injustice has been going on, but now that it's at the forefront, also with the pandemic going on, it has been a lot of information. So, one, I just think that where we can start at is taking care of ourselves, because when we're well, we're able to take care of others. Being a mother, being in that capacity. And then two, check in on those people that are close to you. One of my friends, who is a white woman, was checking in on me, and she was just saying that she's not supporting, anything like that. She can't believe like how it's all crazy, and that she was getting some pushback from her older relatives. So who are all for this. They're like, what is this? Like, they're with it. So that could be the second thing, is start with your immediate circle. If you see your
Mhm.
friends, or your friends that are not supportive of equal rights or equality, not only for women, Black women, Black men, Black children to have better education, better school systems, then talk with them, get that dialogue going, and show your stance. Don't just be silent. And then once you do those two things, then go out into your community and see what your role is, because everybody's not going to be on the front lines. But if you're a person who organization that's doing good work that you can donate, that you can spend time with, getting to know other people that are not like you, that are different from you. Those are three things that you can do to just jump in there and help, because it's going to take, this is a spark, and it really needs to become a bonfire. It needs to ignite, because there are so many different systems and injustices that are intertwined into our everyday society. So we can't do it all in 1 week, 2 weeks. Like, this is going to be a now until forever. I really wish that my nephew would not have to go through anything like this. He's only 2 years old. I'm afraid to even think about when he has to drive. I have a young son that's 21 years old, that I'm afraid when he's driving, if he has to get pulled over by the cops. I really wish that we weren't dealing with this, but I feel like the place that we are, we're able to, we have a good momentum going with it to be able to really dismantle some things that can really create change. So those are the three things that I suggest people to do. Black, brown, white, green, or yellow. Start there, because once you start getting the people around you, because the people around you are racist, you're going to have a slight maybe tendency to be that way. You're going to see their point of views. So get around other people, see their point of views, and make some things happen. Get involved.
I love it. I love it. And I really do want to thank you guys for being on the show today, and for sharing your opinions. And I know I've asked you guys a couple of questions, and you guys have helped me. You've posted. I've learned a lot from just listening to y'all and watching what you guys have posted. So thank you for helping to educate me, because I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but I was kind of in this little bubble where I thought it was good. And then it was just kind of like all these other voices that popped up that were like, I thought everybody was like me. I'm like, hey, you're my friend who's happens to be Black, whatever. I mean, cool. I mean, I see you as people. And then you just hear this and that, and I'm like, oh, snap. Like, I didn't realize it was as bad as it was. And so I do agree, and I think it comes to it, the education and just having conversations with people to start, and that's where I'm starting, and just having those constant conversations with anybody, like and I'll take stuff from what I've learned from y'all, and sorry, I was pointing at the wrong place, and I'll take that into another conversation that I have with some other people, maybe my friends who are white, or just various people, and then together that's we just have to be constant in our learning and our working on ourselves, letting go of our pride, and just taking ownership. I had a post earlier this week where relationships, they're not going to work until you give 100%, not expecting anything back. And so when we adopt that mentality, and we start seeking each other out as friends and seeking that understanding, that empathy, I think that's when things start to change. And like y'all said, it's going to be a hot minute before, but so thank you guys so much for everything that you guys have said, and for continuing to be voices out there. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And y'all have any last minute words of wisdom, or one takeaway each that for our listeners out there before we go?
I think my word of wisdom right now, if all the listeners listening, is to make sure that, again, you do the research, do your knowledge, and have empathy. I think I said this the last time I was on your show, but it's just so it's such a major thing to have, but really do your research and just try to understand the laws, understand what's going on, really. Don't just try to understand your world. Once you really use empathy to understand everybody else's world, then what is happening will make a lot more sense to you. So, and again, also too, don't be afraid to forgive. I think that is a huge thing. Don't miss out on what forgiveness can bring because of pride, and use wisdom also too on who you're forgiving. So
you're talking straight to me. That was real good. My final parting words would be to be the change that you want to see in the world. If you think there are things that need to be changed, draw a circle around yourself, change everything within that circle, and then go out and create more change. So don't be afraid to change. It's nothing wrong with it. Do not be complacent in your situation. If you're in a fancy, free, violent, free, no racial divides, everybody looks like you're probably in the wrong room. You probably need to go into another room, go speak with somebody, talk with somebody, invite somebody to have coffee with you, or do a Zoom call if you're still in quarantine mode. But draw a circle around yourself, change everything in there, and then be the change that you want to see in the world.
I love it. I love it. Both of you, mic drop. I just dropped 2 mics for you guys. That is amazing and beautiful. So for everybody listening out there, I highly recommend that you tune into both of their podcasts. Light the Path podcast. As I adopted an accent there, sorry.
British accent.
We're very regal, I don't know. But Light the Path podcast with Queen Cole, Debrah Cole over there, and Level Up. I didn't know Power Level. Can you change yours to Level Up podcast, please?
Level Up on Power Level.
Yeah, it's the Power Level podcast with Malvin Hearns. So. And you guys can find that on any platform, correct? Spotify, iTunes? Yes. So, give them a listen. You will not regret it. You will learn so much. They are such powerful speakers. I love it. So, thank you guys for being a guest on the show today. And thank you to everybody out there listening. And please, hopefully you guys got something good out of it. Actually, I know you got something good out of it. Let's scratch that. You got something good out of this. So now what your job is to do is to share this knowledge with somebody else, because sharing information is how we make other people better, okay? And if it made a difference in your life, it can definitely change somebody else's. Even if it didn't make a difference in your life, it could change somebody else's life. So please share. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, if you only learn to do one thing, learn to make a difference. Y'all have a good night.